Hey, it's Huck. Now I'm going to keep this real brief because in less than an hour, my Cavs play. And it's Game 6. And this will probably tell you a little bit more about me than it will tell you about anything else. But the truth is, Huck is an optimist. And for that reason, I'm going to go out on a limb today and say that LeBron James, the best player on the planet, is somehow going to win Game 6, and the Cavaliers will stretch this out to 7 games. And the reason I believe that is because, one, I think LeBron wants to prove once and for all that he is what he is, which is, without question, the best player in the game today. Not only the best player, but one who can elevate the play of those around him. And anybody that has any doubts about that should take another good look at Cleveland's roster right now. I mean, it's bad enough that they lost Anderson Varejão early in the year, and then lost Kevin Love early in the Boston series, and then ultimately Kyrie Irving before they ever really had a chance to play, you know, against Golden State here. But the fact is, LeBron has had to kind of take way more of the workload on. He's had to shoot a lot more. He's basically been the conduit through which their entire offense and defense plays. And you can see by how the team performs when he's on the court and how poorly they perform when he's off the court. That basically has been the difference in the series. Nevertheless, I think he's going to prove once again just how good of a player he is. So it should come as no surprise then, being that's my optimistic view, that I also have a theory on the Game of Thrones and what happened at the end of Season 5 here the other night when we saw Jon Snow apparently killed lying in the snow. Killed by his own men. Now, for those of you who have been watching Game of Thrones, you know as well as I do that Jon Snow isn't just another major character in the show. The author has made clear in some of his off-the-cuff remarks and some of his writings that one of the things that he feels is the downside to this particular genre of literature, fantasy fiction, is that it's, you know, basically too predictable. That at some point, you know, relatively early on, you get a feel for who the major characters are and how things are going to ultimately turn out. And so he has defied that purposefully by repeatedly killing off, well, most readers, in this case most viewers, favorite characters. Now, essentially at this point in the whole grand scheme of things, there are 3 key players. Dany, the one for sure Targaryen we know about, the lady with the dragons. Then, of course, there's Jon Snow, who anybody who's read the books or, you know, listened to any of the, you know, reviews of this series know that one of the keys to understanding the whole plot develop is that Jon Snow is not really the bastard son of Ned Stark. He is, in fact, another living, breathing Targaryen. His father was Prince Rhaegar, who was killed when the Targaryens lost the throne. And his mother was Ned Stark's sister, Lyanna. And so it's a very poorly kept secret at this point, but it makes no sense for Jon Snow to die at this stage before, one, that's even been really revealed outright, or two, before, you know, whatever role he really has to play has been, you know, performed. So there's no question that Jon Snow is going to survive in some form or fashion. The question is, you know, how will that transpire? And there's a lot of theories out there, some that are just wild speculation. In the books, the manner of his death is described a little bit differently than it was portrayed there at the end. In the books, his last word upon his last breath was the word ghost, which of course is his direwolf. And we've already seen in the books his ability to have dreams of, leaving his body and temporarily embodying the mind and soul of his direwolf. And we know that his, alleged half-brother Bran Stark has that ability. And Bran's going to have a big role to play, I'm sure, in season 6. He's up north learning to become a tree. But, having said that, Jon possesses some of these same abilities, however less developed they may be. It's interesting, though, that in the series, for television, they've really not developed that storyline. And so at the end, when he died, he doesn't whisper the word ghost before he dies. In the books, it's kind of a clear reference, I think, that he's going to enter the body of his direwolf, at least temporarily, before somehow he's resurrected again. We also know that Melisandre has come back to Castle Black a day before, this event where he dies. And so she's in a position, we know that this religion, worshiping the god Rhaelar, the Lord of Light, that we've already seen one other character that can resurrect people from the dead. So we have to assume that being a practitioner of this particular religion, if you will, that she possesses that knowledge too. So I think the speculation is that she's going to attempt to resurrect Jon back to life. My guess is there's going to be a complication. A lot of stuff is leaked out to the press, and we're not really sure exactly what to make of that, or whether it's all just kind of intentional deception. But the truth is, we believe that Kit Harington, the actor who plays Jon Stark, is not actually contracted to come back for season 6. So there's a pretty good likelihood, if that's true, that we will not see Jon Stark as Jon Stark in season 6. My guess is that we will see him back, but probably not until the final season, season 7. So season 6, we're going to have to go through some period of season 6 where he at least is not alive as we know him. If he's really a Targaryen, as we all pretty much are certain at this point, it's possible that Melisandre will try to resurrect him. It's also possible that she won't. One possibility is that the men of the Night's Watch have previously, when their men have fallen, for instance in their fight with the wildlings, they burnt them all so as to not leave any corpses for the White Walkers. So we have to assume that, they will attempt to do the same thing. We know that when Dany, the one Targaryen other than Jon, sat in the fire of when her husband died, Drogo, the fire could not consume her. She survived it unscathed. So it'll be curious to see if they try to set Jon's body on fire. What happens if it doesn't burn? What will they do at that point? My guess is that they're going to take that body and put it in ice, where they're conveniently located. They have plenty of it to do that. So they probably have some kind of storage room down under the wall somewhere where they could probably put his body and basically keep it on ice until he can use it again. At some point, maybe Melisandre will try to resurrect that body. But again, is his spirit in the body? Or is it with the direwolf? We'll have to see, but mark my words, that's coming. Now, there's two other things that are going along here. There's, as the Game of Thrones goes on, there's really two things that need to be answered. One, how will they, or will they, defeat the White Walkers? Jon seems to be the only person really paying attention to that threat. Now that he's at least temporarily gone, you got to wonder where they're going with that. The other thing that everybody's got to wonder about is, who ultimately is going to take this throne? Now, I know most people, I mean, the storyline is pretty much predicated on the idea that that Dany is going to eventually come to Westeros and rule. That may or may not be true. My guess is that before she ever can do so, Littlefinger will probably take the throne. That's my guess. He's been the big manipulator so far. So if anybody's going to unseat Tommen, my guess is that it'll be Littlefinger that will have something to say about that. Jon's ultimate success against the White Walkers, I don't think Jon can act on this alone. We know a couple of things about the White Walkers. One, that they can be destroyed by dragon glass. They can be destroyed by a sword that's made out of a special material, and there's only a few of them in the whole Seven Kingdoms, Jon having one of them. But we also know that, or we can assume, that the other thing that might destroy them are the actual fire of dragons. And there's 3 of them. Now, 8,000 years earlier, there was another warrior, and I can't pronounce his name, I'll use his initials, AA. And AA came along about 8,000 years ago. He was the chosen one, and managed to, if not defeat, at least beat back the White Walkers at bay until, I guess, Westeros could build the wall and keep them up north. And the truth is, until recently, White Walkers hadn't been heard of or heard from in, well, nearly 8,000 years. Which is probably why most people in the kingdoms are not paying any attention to that threat, or at least taking them seriously. Now, AA, this warrior from 8,000 years ago, was prophesied as returning someday to apparently finish the job. But he's also been referred to as 3 heads of the dragon, which leads me to believe that it's not a single individual, but 3 people. And there are several criteria that this individual or these individuals seemingly have to fit in order to qualify as being the second coming of AA. One is that they have dragon blood, that they have dragon's blood, and that typically means they're a Targaryen. Well, we know that there are 2 characters in the story that we are fairly certain are Targaryens. Dany, Khaleesi, and Jon Snow. So who's the third, if there is a third? And some of the other criteria are, well, there's talk about a sword, the sword of light. There's talk about has to be born of salt and smoke. As you go through all of these different criteria, to my way of thinking, there's really only one other potential character, maybe, that fits all of these criteria as the third possible head of the dragon. Jon Snow, Dany. My guess, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the third is Tyrion. We don't know a whole lot about Tyrion's birth. We know that his mother died giving birth to him. So his mother was definitely, at least by marriage, a Lannister. But we don't know much more about her. Did she have Targaryen blood? Is Tyrion really the son of Tywin Lannister? Or did his mother maybe fool around with a Targaryen? There's nothing really in the books that I've gleaned that answers any of those questions or hints too much. And maybe I just haven't read it too clearly. But I've read the comments on a number of other fan sites, and if it's in there, I haven't noticed that anybody else has picked up on it either. But my guess is that there's one other character that is also potentially of Targaryen blood. And it's got to be, as far as I can see, one of only three possibilities. One being Tyrion, one being Varys, and possibly Jorah Mormont, the guy that's now twice been exiled by Dany out of Meereen, and who keeps coming back, and is even now helping to search for Dany as she flew off with the dragon and is, well, right now in some amount of peril by those horse warlords. So we'll see what happens there. But again, I'm going to kind of bank on possibly being Tyrion as the third and last Targaryen. We'll have to see where, whatever the answer is to that third, we're going to get an answer sometime in season 6, I think, at least some hints towards that. So, again, I thank you for watching. As far as a personal update, you'll notice the oxygen, I've been trying not to use it today. I'm supposed to actually go back to work tomorrow. And the fact is, I'm not 100% back. I thought I was getting there really about Tuesday, Wednesday of last week was the best I've felt. I think I ran out of my antibiotic. I think I used the last of my antibiotic right around Monday or Tuesday. And I felt great. I mean, the best I've felt in months. And then it was just a day or so later, this all started coming back. I don't know why, other than, we've had a lot of thunderstorms, torrential rains, a lot of heat and humidity, and I don't know if any of that's been acting up, or if, I don't know. I don't know. I know I've kind of struggled a little bit today, a little bit more than I did yesterday. But I've been off of work now for actually over 2.5 weeks. The last day I worked was Saturday, I think that's May 29th. So that's an awful long time to be off of work. I have had a 4-day pay last week, and I've already missed a full week and 1 day of this week, of this 2-week pay. So I absolutely have to. If it's humanly possible, I need to go to work tomorrow. There's a really good chance I'm not going to be able to keep this job, largely because I fear they're probably going to let me go. If not out and out because of the absences, then they will find probably the first reason they can come up with to let me go, so they don't have to blame the illness. But either way, I'm beginning to think there's not a big future in this job for me. But, I'm going to worry about that when the time comes. For now, I'm just going to try to get my ass to work. And, it wouldn't be the first time I was desperate and had to go out and find another job. My problem right now is the limited number of physical things I can do, at work. I mean, this is a job where I work at a call center, for crying out loud, and I'm having trouble going to that. So, anyway, I don't worry about things until they come up on me, because worrying's just going to get you sicker. And right now, I'm just trying to get better. So, anyway, don't worry about me. I want to thank you for watching. I'm going to go ahead and try to upload this real quick and then get out there and root for my Cavs. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you again, hopefully this weekend.